on the pandemic's impact across our state, including a citywide curfew in southern Arizona.
Plus, could we be heading towards a hospital crisis in the coming weeks? What the experts are saying as COVID-19 cases surge.
And on Break It Down, the evolution of the agent culture in the film industry.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Serena Raboyne.
And I'm Sean Rice. Thank you for joining us.
Just about 2 hours ago, Governor Doug Ducey held a news conference to give the latest information on the state's COVID-19 response. He says Arizona will provide an additional $60 million for hospital staffing. He also says that an initial shipment of COVID vaccines will arrive mid-December, and healthcare workers, educators, and residents in long-term care facilities will get priority. Arizona has reached an all-time high in COVID-19 cases, surpassing the numbers we saw in the summer, with a current estimation of more than 65,000 cases, according to the ASU BIODESIGN Institute. Since October, the state has been experiencing an increase in cases. However, the most concerning factor with the surge is that the toll is taken on the number of available hospital beds. Currently, 1 out of every 3 hospital beds in the state is occupied by a COVID-19 patient.
As more and more beds get occupied by COVID-19 patients, that leaves fewer and fewer beds for people with other illnesses who need to be tended in the hospital. And so it will be harder and harder for folks to get into hospitals to get other care if hospitals are fully occupied with COVID-19 patients.
According to LABAER, if the surge in cases continues, hospitals will be completely full in about 2 weeks.
Back in July, Arizona hospitals were struggling to fulfill that need for beds. And now, in the middle of the winter months, they could be nearing a crisis. Yesterday, the Arizona Department of Health Services reported 10,322 new coronavirus cases, the most the state has seen in months. A modeling team at the University of Arizona has already recommended a stay-at-home ordinance to be issued for much of December. That's because most hospitals see the majority of visitors from late December into early January due to cold and flu season. This has experts in the health community alarmed about the coming months.
I'm not worried about what's coming up. I'm freaking out. I mean, the predictive models have been really clear for a long time now, for at least a few weeks, that we were headed into this crisis and there was ample opportunities to do something about it. You either have to decide you're going to do something about it, or you could decide you don't care. And maybe that's what they're just going to decide, is that, look, we know the hospital's in crisis, implement your surge plans and have crisis standards of care. That might be the choice. And guess what? The people of Arizona elected the person who's making those choices. So I guess it's consent of the governor.
In a call with hospital leaders, Governor Ducey said he'll continue to enforce the state's mitigation strategies. And he reiterated that local, city, towns, and counties also have enforcement authority that can be used to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
The Tucson City Council voted to implement an overnight curfew that will begin Friday and last until at least December 23rd. Tucson Mayor Regina Romero says the decision was made after consulting with public health experts about the additional steps needed to control the surge of COVID-19 cases. Mayor Romero also says she's urging Governor Doug Ducey to take statewide action to slow the spread. The curfew will last from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. every night. People traveling to and from work, performing essential services, or those under special circumstances are exempt from the curfew.
People who come in close contact with those infected with COVID-19 may soon be spending less time in isolation. The CDC is expected to trim the recommended length of quarantine from 14 days to 7 to 10 days after exposure. Dr. Robert Redfield, the head of the CDC, informed the White House's coronavirus task force of the plan Tuesday. 2 senior administration officials tell CNN. The officials described the decision as data-driven and said it's been under review for weeks. Health officials have said most people are infectious within a week of exposure.
If one is following someone for 7 days versus 14, and then particularly if you have a negative test, that really is likely to have a much more positive impact than people who say, well, I can't do 14 days.
Health officials stress that people still need to wear masks, wash their hands, and keep social distance.
Meanwhile, an Operation Warp Speed document obtained by CNN estimates the first deliveries of drug makers Pfizer's vaccine could be on December 15th. The United Kingdom authorized it for use today, making it the first Western nation to approve a COVID-19 vaccine. According to the phase 3 trial, the Pfizer vaccine proved to be 95% effective in preventing infections. The UK has ordered 40 million doses of the vaccine, with the first shots rolling out next week. In the United States, the FDA Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet next week to review both the Pfizer and Moderna applications for emergency use.
Coming up on Cronkite News, 2 Arizona hotels cooperated with ICE to detain immigrants. More on a watchdog group that's pushing back next.
Plus, from space to the United States Congress, your front row seat to Senator Mark Kelly's swearing-in ceremony when we return.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
A new campaign targets hotels that cooperated with ICE to detain immigrant families. Cronkite News reporter Kylie Cochran shows us how one nonpartisan organization is putting the pressure on the private sector where it hurts, their wallets.
A Nogales Best Western and a Phoenix Hampton Inn are 2 hotels featured on Accountable US's recent list. And no, this is not your top 10 Arizona hotel guide. These Arizona locations are featured on a list of hotels that have been collaborating with ICE.
Hotels need to end their silence, answer for what went wrong here, publicly refuse to assist ICE in detaining children and families in the future.
Lizzie Price works for Accountable US, a nonpartisan government watchdog group, but they've shifted focus from government to the private sector for a campaign called No ICE Hotels.
We really approach this as a way to put pressure on the private sector because, frankly, the Trump administration has proven that their immigration policies are cruel.
According to ACLU detention attorney Stephen KANG, the pandemic has provided a loophole for immigration laws.
Title 42 process, which invokes this rarely ever used public health law to try to suspend the operation of the immigration laws.
Title 42 is the set of regulations issued by federal agencies regarding public health. Under these rules, the government suspended entry from certain borders on March 20th and announced they would swiftly return undocumented aliens to prevent disease spread. Minors are no exception.
Unaccompanied children and asylum seekers can also be expelled, even though they have rights under the immigration laws to fair processes in terms of adjudicating their requests for humanitarian relief.
An August New York Times report found at least 860 migrants were detained at Hampton Inn and other hotels. So, the U.S. District Court of Los Angeles ordered the Department of Homeland Security to stop placing children in hotels. But because of the secrecy, KANG says it's still unclear whether hotels are actively being used and to what degree. In a statement to Cronkite News, an ICE spokesperson said, "The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement only temporarily houses minors in hotels consistent with court orders."
Hotels aren't subject to the policies that protect immigrant children in federal custody, which leaves the door open very wide for abuse and neglect.
Hilton Properties did release a statement in September announcing they believe that all hotels should be a place of hospitality. But one of the hotels featured on Accountable US's list is a Phoenix Hampton Inn, a part of the Hilton hotel chain.
And they need to release an action plan.
But Kane wants the public to keep in mind hotel placement is just a small part of the bigger issue.
And that fundamental problem of the government saying that we can expel children quickly without giving them any process is really the issue that I think deserves the most challenge and I think the most pushback on the part of the public.
Accountable US is banking on this public outcry. They've created a comprehensive list of hotels involved, using records from court case Floors versus Barr, a settlement agreement governing the detention, release, and treatment of minors in federal custody, and data from the New York Times to alert consumers.
We're not just asking for lip service here. Consumers must be assured that this practice will end for good.
Kylie Cochran, Cronkite News.
Former astronaut Mark Kelly officially took the oath of office today as Arizona's newest U.S. Senator, taking the seat of late Senator John McCain. The Democrat won the seat after beating Republican incumbent Martha McSally by almost 80,000 votes. McSally was appointed to fill McCain's seat by Governor Ducey. Now, Kelly will finish the rest of McCain's term, allowing him to be sworn in prior to January. Earlier today, Vice President Mike Pence did the honors.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you're about to enter. So help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Mark Kelly will serve Arizona alongside Senator KARSTIN, giving Arizona 2 Democratic senators for the first time since the 1950s.
Up next, meet the female Mountain View linebacker who's knocking down barriers as she prepares for the next phase of her life.
This month in Passport, your on-demand library of the best of PBS.
Everyone has secrets. Are you protecting someone?
I have no choice.
You do have a choice. You're looking at him.
That's amazing. We could be standing on top of a T-Rex right now.
Women demanded new space and pushed the boundaries of what being a lady means.
These and other shows are available with Passport. Become a member of this PBS station, sign in, and start streaming today.
Here we go. Lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
History was made this weekend on the college football field when a kicker became the first woman to play in a Power 5 conference game. Reed Harmon explains the significance and shares the story of a young woman who's been on the football field here in the Valley for several seasons.
Sarah Fuller is a kicker for Vanderbilt, and it's becoming more common that you hear females transitioning from the soccer fields to the football fields. But here in Arizona, there's KARSTIN HOLLEN, a high school linebacker. Vanderbilt kicker Sarah Fuller kicked down barriers when she took the field to start the second half for the Commodores, becoming the first female to play in a Power 5 football game. The groundbreaking moment sent a strong message to the next generation.
Girls can do anything. Like, you can always overcome obstacles and be just as good as anyone else.
When you hear about female football players, they're usually kickers. But for Hollen, it was all about the hitting.
I'm so bad at kicking. Like, I've tried, it was horrible. I think I just liked hitting people.
HOLLEN, a senior linebacker at Mountain View High School, just wrapped up her 4th and final season with the Toros football team.
When she really wants something, she's like a dog with a bone. She'll stay with it and stay with it. And so I knew that she wanted to be successful at football. I mean, there was something that was a drive for her.
There wasn't any reason that I could be so selfish to quit and let my teammates down. And they're basically like my brothers. I can't just like quit on my family, especially because I just had a bad day or had a bad practice.
And at practice, she was just like any other player.
She played 4 years for me, and I never once had to make compensation for her, you know, except for locker rooms and stuff. I never made it easier on her. I never did, you know, anything but just treated her like a player.
During her days at Mountain View, HOLLEN has not only played football, but competed in softball and wrestling as well. Though kicker Sarah Fuller may have made history in the Power 5 and college football, it's just another sport to play for the inside linebacker at Mountain View High School.
I think it's because I see how shy like other people can be. I'm just not like that. I've never been like shy or anything. I've always been confident and never afraid to speak my mind. So I think that just watching other people and how they act, I just never wanted to be like that. And I just wanted to be myself and not be afraid of who I am.
HOLLEN's attitude was groomed growing up with 2 older brothers who played football and wrestled. They helped KARSTIN become who she is today.
Me and my brothers would fight all the time, and I just have to prove that I was stronger. I've just watched them grow up to be men, and I don't want to disappoint them.
Now, young girls might want to grow up and be like KARSTIN HOLLEN, confident in whatever they want to do. KARSTIN is planning on going to college next year with scholarship offers starting to roll in for wrestling. As for her family and football, her father has been coaching at Mountain View for 10 years. In those years, all 3 of his own kids have been on his roster at one point playing inside linebacker. In the broadcast center, Reed Harmon, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.